And welcome to Suffocating in Suburbia. I'm your host, Stevie GB. Today we have a special episode. We're going to get a little spooky here in Ronkonkoma, and it's going to be fun. We're going to talk about, I got two great guests today, and we're going to talk about all of the weird stuff that you hear about in Ronkonkoma, and all over the world, really, and that is the lake Ronkonkoma. Now, back in the day, this Ronkonkoma was it was a place to go. You know, people would come from the city and come out to Ronkonkoma and swim in the lake until they found out about the Indian princess. Well, I've been hearing this story forever, and I don't know if it's true. Some people are like, get out of here. And other people are like, I saw her. I went on a date with her once. I don't know. You know, people, they drink over at Parsnips and they go to the lake and they have stories to tell. You know what I mean? And sometimes you can't believe these drunk Ronkonkomonians, whatever they're called. All right. So my guest today is a guy who wrote the book. Now, I want to tell you what happened. I wanted to do this a little bit like a Halloween special. And I looked up, like somebody must have written a book about the Lady of the Lake, you know? And I found two people. One guy, I think it was fiction. I don't know. I contacted him. He never contacted me. Maybe the Lady of the Lake got him. I don't know. And another guy, Michael Ebert, and he contacted me, and I was so excited. And he's here today, and he's going to talk about his book. It's called The Lake of Legends. And I read the book. I'm not like one of those hosts that don't read the book or just pretend I read the book. It's fantastic. I love the book. It's very truthful. There's stories about the lake. I encourage everyone to buy it, whether you're from Ronkonkoma, Long Island, you know about the Lady of the Lake. This is a book to buy. My other guest is my other friend. This guy's crazy. This guy's completely out of his mind. I love him to death. I'll tell you a story about him when we come back. But he's a poet Billy Lamont. He's performed with the guy from The Alarm. What was his name, Mike?
Yeah, Mike Peters, The Alarm.
Mike Peters recently passed away,
yes,
unfortunately, from the 90s band The Alarm. He's also performed at CBGB's. He's also written a book we're going to talk about later, and it's called Words Ripped from a Soul Still Bleeding. That's right. This is not a children's book, but it's a book. So it's like book day here at Suffocating in Suburbia. I'm so intellectual, aren't I? Yes, more than just a comedian. I'm an intellectual guy. All right. First up, we're going to start with Michael. Michael is here. He's brought his book. He also brought some cool photos. And look, like I said, I read this book. I think it's fantastic. The name of the Indian was Tuscawanda.
Yes, Tuscawanda. Yes.
Tuscawanda. Or Ronkonkoma, sometimes.
Right. Well, there's a lot. Depending on what you read, some people call her Princess Ronkonkoma.
Okay.
But the most common is Tuscawanda.
Right. And there's a story that she was in love with this bird soul.
She fell in love hundreds of years ago with a white settler named Hugh Birdsall.
Right.
And he lived on the banks of the Connecticut River. And they came across each other, but they weren't allowed to pursue their romance because her father was the Indian chief of their tribe, and he forbid her to pursue.
You're not seeing that white guy.
Exactly. So, but she.
More like you're not seeing that white. Oh, I better not do that. That was cultural appropriation. We're not into that stuff yet.
But,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but she continued her fondness for him for 7 years.
Wow.
And she would send him messages on pieces of bark that would travel through a hidden stream down to his log hut until after 7 years she couldn't take it anymore, and according to the legend, she killed herself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but of course there's different versions on how she killed herself. Some say she stabbed herself and floated to him. Others say she tied a rock to her foot and jumped into the lake.
Wow.
And some say he died. There's lots of different versions, as you see in the book. But
now,
the main version
wasn't there
is that
something
she
in the
killed
book
herself.
where he was sending messages back because of the way the stream went?
No, she sent it to him, and he couldn't send back because the stream only flowed one way.
Right, yeah. So he never knew that she loved him, or he didn't.
He did know, but he couldn't return the messages to her. Yeah.
So she thought that he was done with her.
She had who can really say because we weren't there, but yeah, the basic thing is that he couldn't return his messages to her, and she had so much heartache that she just took her life.
Wow, that's very sad. And the story goes that every year she took a boy.
Right.
In the lake.
That's the story. But in recent years, people swim in the lake less now because of pollution, and a lot of the beaches are prohibited from swimming. But back in the day, like 100 years ago, when it was like Lake Ronkonkoma was like Lake George. I mean, there was amusement rides, there was thousands of people on the beach and in the water on the weekend, and there are periods where every year there would be a drowning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And it was boys and girls. Didn't she also take girls?
Yeah, the decades with the most drownings, I believe, were the 20s and the 60s, where there were double-digit drownings. I think it was maybe 15 drownings in those decades.
And isn't there some cases where the bodies weren't even recovered? They could.
It was very hard to find bodies, and there were rumors that they would turn up in other waterways.
Right.
So that's part of the legend. I've had historians that say, no, that's not really true. There was never anyone actually documented to have turned up in another waterway.
Right.
But that's part of the legend, that objects would disappear and turn up in the Great South Bay or in the Long Island Sound. But there's never been anything. It was all rumor. There was never anything.
Right. Well, that's what I like about the book. You kind of explore both sides. You don't make it all about it's true, it's true, it's true. You have the other side where people are like, no, that's not true, or that didn't really happen, or we're not sure if there's no proof of that. And so that's what made it interesting.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Ronkonkoma, and when I was in junior high school, there was a student in my district who drowned.
Was that Chris Wynn?
Chris Wynn. It was in the news. It was like the top story in the news at the time. Him and 3 other friends were canoeing across the lake in March, and they had heavy winter coats on, and it tipped.
Wow.
And because they had such heavy winter coats, he was not able to stay afloat, and he went under. And it took them a day to find him. So I started to hear my classmates whisper about the legends, and I was always curious about it. But this was the days before the internet. So years later, I eventually started to research it. I thought, why not me? Like, I work for Newsday. I'm a researcher.
Right. Yeah, you work for Newsday.
Yeah. So, I wanted to do. This is really something I made for the community. I mean, this is a story that a lot of people talk about, but there was never a book that really took a deep dive into all the different aspects of the legend.
Which is surprising, because it is kind of a well-known legend.
Yeah, I was surprised myself.
I've been hearing it forever, about the lake.
Yeah.
Because there is that deep part of the lake, which is kind of mysterious.
Right. There's a hole in the south. In one of the southern sections that's 66 feet deep, and that's where it connects to the underground water table.
Right.
So the lake is like a natural well. It rises and falls depending on the water level in the underground water table.
Wow. Do you know about this lake?
Yeah, I actually lived in Ronkonkoma for a period, and with my son, we would play on the swings there, and as a kid, I actually would swim in the lake, just visiting with my dad. He liked to swim there. He originally was from Queens. He came out to Long Island, and Lake Ronkonkoma was a great place for us to go. As I was learning to swim and everything, there was other places I swam, like at Robert Moses and everything. But it's always had that mystery. I even remember having egg sandwiches in Ronkonkoma with my son, and there's the mural that we're using for this show there. And I asked, it's on the side of a deli where we get egg sandwiches. And
I have it right here in case. There's the mural.
Great pictures.
And they would ask me, I would talk to them, and I was a poet, having some success, and I wanted to graffiti a poem on there, but it never worked out. But I just loved it. Like, I had this environmental poem or a few lines. I thought, it would be perfect. But and they did. I guess they painted over it a few times, didn't they?
They've sort of refreshed it as the years went on. Yeah, there's a lot of. If you drive around Ronkonkoma, there are a lot of different artwork dedicated to the princess around the town. There's the mural. There's the wooden sculpture that was carved.
Right. Yeah. Well, the wooden sculpture. I want to talk about a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next segment about the transfer of the spirit.
A lot of people don't even know about that. They think that this is something from centuries ago, but it's actually still going on today. There's a lot going on.
And all the psychics that came and the paranormal stuff, and it really was interesting that you really had all that going on. And I want to talk about that, and how you the research you did to do the book. And
Sure.
Sounds like you were thinking about it for a long time. And
Yeah,
it's a great book. I loved it. And I don't like to read, but you really kept me enraptured with this. I really enjoyed it. And thank you for writing it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, like I said, I wrote it for the community because when you talk to people, they know little snippets or just the basic paragraph of the princess drowns young boys, but there's really a lot more to it. There's the ghost sightings, there's psychics who have been there, there's Native Americans who have done ceremonies there. There's
you really did your research, and I think that it shows. And I can't plug it enough, but buy the book. It's great. Well, I guess it's on Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon.
Wherever else you can get it. And we're going to come back. We'll talk more about that. And I also got my buddy here, poet Billy Lamont. We'll talk about him in probably the third segment. And the fourth segment, very special. Poet Billy is going to do a poem talking back to the Raven. Special Halloween episode. And he's even got some musical accompaniment. Is that too many syllables? Accompaniment?
That's perfect. Let me count it for my haiku.
Accompaniment. Something like that. That's a tough word. But we'll be back. We'll be back right after these messages, and I'm glad you're here. Tell all your friends. Afterwards, we'll put this all up on YouTube, and you'll be able to share it, and we'll have 80,000 views for Suffocating in Suburbia. I'm Stevie GB, and we'll be back very shortly. I'm counting down 20 seconds. I stopped too soon. We'll be back with poet Billy Lamont and Michael Ebert to talk more about the legends of the Lake of Legends, and words ripped from a soul still bleeding. Not a children's book, believe me. Although kids could probably read it, right? There's some good stuff.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
Gold and silver, it's God's money, and we all need it. Unfortunately, the whole precious metals industry is rigged in favor of the wealthy people. In fact, it's so complicated that 95% of all Americans don't own any precious metals. What the industry needed was a way for us to buy fractional units of precious metals, get free storage in a secure vault, have them insured, take physical possession of the metals, or instantaneously liquidate the assets at one of the highest buyback prices in the industry. Well, now there is. It's called a sound money account, and everybody needs one. With a membership, you can start buying gold and silver with as little as $1. Now that fits everyone's budget. Also, our members can gift gold and silver between each other in our Sound Money accounts. What a great way to pass on generational wealth. You'll be able to rest easier knowing you have the security and flexibility found in having your very own Sound Money account. Please scan the QR code or go to tafwsoundmoney.com to learn more. The America First Warehouse wants every American to have access to owning their very own precious metals.
Live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, live at the America First Warehouse. Live at the America First Warehouse on a Friday, Real America's Voice, all across the country, 103.9 LI News Radio, all across your radio, Suffolk County, Long Island. Glad you're in.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
And we're back, Suffocating in Suburbia, Stevie GB. Now, Billy, you got a question for our friend here, Michael, about the lake.
It's so interesting what you're talking about, and being I lived in, I'm a Long Island, and I lived in Lake Ronkonkoma. I've always had a question. So hearing you talk about the Lady of the Lake, do you think there's any roots back to, like, how different cultures in paganism, and then the Romans, the Greeks and the Romans, they had like Aphrodite, or there was different names like Isis, like a woman god. Do you think it has roots to the same thing, or do you think it's something just that's more local and different?
I think it's something more local. I didn't come across anything like that in my research. It was more of like just a local legend. So I would probably say no.
That's interesting. Thank you. Yeah, it's just curious. Like, in my mind, it blends because in culture there's such a tie to that now, and so it's just interesting. And yeah, thank you for answering that question. I was curious.
Yeah, that is an interesting question. Very good. Now, I want to talk to you about you had this marine biologist who actually had a sighting of the Lady in the Lake. Right?
Yeah, in addition to, going through the legends and the history of the lake and the geography, I did find people who had paranormal experiences at the lake, and that was probably my favorite in the book.
Yeah.
It was a local professor at a university who's a marine biologist, and she was swimming in a group of 3 people. They were scuba diving in the lake, collecting artifacts from the bottom, and they got to the deepest point, that's 66 feet, and it's incredibly dark to the point where they say they couldn't even see their hand inches from their mask. And she got separated from the group, and while she was waiting for them, she saw what she describes as a blue light coming at her and expanding horizontally at the bottom, which baffled her because, like I said, she couldn't see her hand. And then she started to feel long strands of hair wrap around her. And it was something that she couldn't explain as a marine biologist. She didn't know what it was. So her interpretation is that she thinks she encountered the princess at the bottom of the lake.
And there were also other paranormal experts that went there and viewed the noises.
Yes,
and the
I talked to the Long Island Paranormal Society. They've done investigations there. And while they didn't find anything specific to the princess, they did have various audio things, what they saw, what they described as shadow people, and one person described feeling the presence of a Native American chief there. And I did talk to psychics, one who was a psychic in Rye, who was brought out by the Brooklyn Paranormal Society a number of years ago when they did an investigation there, and she believes that she communicated directly with the princess, and there's a whole chapter in there about her communicating with the princess.
Yeah, I saw that. That was great. And now, since I guess you said nothing really happened for a while, and there was some anger feelings. If she felt angry, like maybe it wasn't working out, and then they were able to transfer the spirit. Who built that giant statue?
The statue was carved by a man named Todd Arnett, who I think he moved away recently. But he worked on it for people in Ronkonkoma. Saw it under work for maybe 5 years. Here's a picture of it.
Yeah.
And so he finished it. There was a festival when he was about to finish it in 2019. And during that festival, I wasn't there at the festival, but I heard about it. I interviewed everyone who was participating in it. There was a medicine man who lives in Huntington Station. His name is Rick Statler.
Right.
And he allowed me to interview him for the book. And he did a healing ceremony at the lake where he transferred her energy from the water into this statue so she could go from being a negative force, perceived negative force at the lake, to sort of a guardian, a protector over the lake.
Wow. And the drowning stopped when that happened?
There have not been any drowning. Well, the drownings have stopped in recent decades just because, people swim there less. But yes, since the ceremony, there has not been any drownings.
Wow. And then the statue broke.
The statue around Thanksgiving Day last year, the arms and the bird that she was holding fell off because the tree was dying. That was why he carved it, because it was going to be torn down. So he said, let me make it into something beautiful. But unfortunately,
he moved since then,
he moved
so
away.
He
So
fix it.
apparently the Lake Ronkonkoma Heritage Association had experts come look at the tree, and they said it can't be saved, so it's going to further deteriorate. So the plan is that they're commissioning, and this is in progress at this point, they're getting a new piece of artwork. I don't know what it's going to be at this point. It's going to be at a neighboring corner, and they're going to transfer her energy into that piece at some point.
Wow. So right now they think her energy is still in the statue?
Well, there, in March,
Sure where it is?
there was a spirit transfer
Right.
once we realized that the statue was falling apart. And the man, the Native American medicine man, he transferred her energy from the decaying sculpture into a beautiful statue of a Native American female.
Wow.
And he currently has possession of it until the permanent piece is finished, and then a new spirit transfer will
And then
take
it's going to
place.
go to a park where people could view it?
Yes.
And pray to it
That's the
and
plan.
run away from it, whatever they need to do. Wow. Now, you did a great amount of research for this book. A lot of great stories. Are there any stories that you said, all right, you're nuts, it's not, it's not going in the
Well,
book?
fortunately, everyone I really wanted to talk to, granted me interviews, so I was very
Okay.
happy about that. There were a couple, I did reach out to family members of people who had drowned in the lake. Not everyone was really ready to talk, even though, I had one person, a decade had passed since her father drowned. She was a little girl when he drowned. She was actually watching from the shore as he drowned.
Oh, gosh.
That story was a remote control boat stalled in the lake, and someone paid him like $50 to swim out 100 yards and retrieve the boat, and he ended up drowning.
Wow.
She was not ready to talk, so there was a couple people who were not open to sharing.
They
But I
weren't
gave people the opportunity to say some words of remembrance for their loved ones or share
Right.
special memories.
Well, you have a lot of actual quotes from Newsday and
Yeah. Well, all the drownings I researched, those are, some of them are 100, 150 years old. So I did take excerpts from different articles just to, create the scene and what people said and thought at the time and stuff like that.
Wow. Do you have any other books that you're coming out with?
No,
What about
this
Hatchet
took a
Mary?
lot.
We should talk about Hatchet Mary. Anybody know about Hatchet Mary?
I did actually, the
Is that Kings
paranormal
Park?
investigator,
Is that
that's in
Kings
the Huntington area
Huntington,
by
right,
West
right,
Hills
right.
Park.
That's
They
right.
actually told me that that's the #1 haunted spot on
Yes.
Long Island.
I know, I've heard of it.
And they've had a lot of crazy
Have you heard
stuff
about
happen
Hatchet
there.
Mary?
I heard the name, but I don't really know what is
Yeah,
it?
you know-
It was a woman who apparently killed her family and then herself with a hatchet. There's probably more to it.
In
but-
West Hills, huh?
Hills,
somewhere
Huntington.
around there,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, and there's supposedly.
Close to
You never heard
Whitman's.
that? Yeah, Hatchet
Wow.
Mary.
Yeah, that's
I've heard
I
that.
heard
apparently the
name, I've
#1
never
haunted spot on
Yeah.
Long
Had the whole
Island, yeah.
story. That's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, is that
Spooky
is
for
that by
Halloween.
Heckscher? Is that by Heckscher?
I just know it's by West Hills County Park. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know. It's not super close to
Yeah, I'm
Hatchet,
not
no.
sure where that is, but I know I've always heard that Hatchet Mary.
Yeah.
You have any other books on
I
the
don't. This
horizon?
took me so long.
It took
Plus,
you a
I have
while,
a
right.
baby now.
Oh,
I'm happy to
congratulations.
be done with this. I just
yeah,
want to kind of relax for a bit. But
Congratulations.
yeah, this was my COVID project. I really put a lot of
Oh,
time.
well, that's
so.
a lot of people did.
Yeah, it
things
took me
during
a number
COVID.
of years,
I did
so.
nothing during COVID. I was supposed to write a book, but I've had a book in my head forever. Did you self-publish this?
I did because I had a vision of how I wanted it to be, and
Right.
it involves a lot of people who passed away. So I didn't want it to be sensationalized.
Right.
Publishing company comes in, they want to make it something sensationalized. I didn't
Right.
want that. I wanted it to be tasteful and respectful, and I
Oh, it
dedicated
definitely
the book
is.
to the people who drowned in the lake.
Yeah, oh, it definitely is, and I love that you have actual accounts, and you could tell that it was very. It's almost like an interview process. A lot of the book.
Yeah, it was
You
me.
could
I take
feel
you
it.
through it's called
Right.
an exploration of the myths and truths of Lake Ronkonkoma, and I take you through step by step of my exploration.
Right.
I start in researching the drownings, then I move on to talking to family members, then I walk you through sort of as I explore step by step.
Yeah, it's great. Very good. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you write more. I hope you're not done.
Thank you. Maybe.
What are you doing now for a living? You still
I'm a
working?
researcher for Newsday. I've been at
Oh,
Newsday
okay.
for over 20 years. So I do a hometown hero column where I, profile people who do things to improve their communities or
Oh, great.
rescue people at the beach or different stuff like that.
Oh,
And,
nice.
I'm part of the education team at Newsday too. So I do a lot of the data and number crunching for the
Well, that's
for
good.
the education stories.
That's good. You work from home pretty much? Or?
We have a hybrid situation now, so it's
Right.
like a few days in the week and 2 days at home kind of
That's
deal.
not
So-
bad. That's not bad.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm sort of retired now, but I tell people I work 24/7. It takes me 7 days to work 24 hours. So it's not bad, right? Actually, that's going to get better soon. Pretty soon it'll be 24 days to work 7 hours. So I like that even better. So that's where I'm at. So listen, everybody, this is a great book. I really enjoyed it. Michael's a great guy. I really appreciate you coming
Yeah,
down. We're going to talk now we're going to go to our second segment. We're going to talk about poet Billy Lamont. I'll tell a quick story. I hope it's quick enough that we don't run out of time. Yeah, okay. I was at Barnes & Noble just hanging around. My wife goes shopping. I hang around. It was a couple of years ago, probably before COVID. And I walk upstairs, and there's this maniac screaming on the floor, screaming about the blood of Jesus to a screaming crowd of about 5 people. And I'm like, I think I love this guy. He was screaming a poem about the blood of Jesus, and he's on his knees. And I'm like, okay, I like this guy. So I introduced myself, and we had an immediate, you ever have an immediate connection with somebody? I tend to immediately connect with lunatics, and I did. He's a lunatic, but in a good way. There's good. There's bad lunatics that drown in the lake, but there's good lunatics like poet Billy Lamont. And we're going to come back. He wrote a book. He's got a great story. He's a punk rock guy. He's performed at CBGB's, and he performed with Mike Peters at The Alarm. And who else? You know, Lollapalooza. He wrote a book called, like I said, it's not a kid's book. Words ripped from a soul still bleeding. But he's going to come back, and we're going to talk about his journey in poetry, because I love poetry. I think it's cool. But he's kind of a punk rock poet. Is that a good?
Yeah, and it's bloody because it's, but it's kid friendly because the blood is precious. It's not like gory or something. But we could talk about that more later. And,
maybe I overdid
the next segment
a little bit.
But at the same time, yeah, it's from deep within me, which to me is bloody. And in the next segment, I'm looking forward to chatting about it.
It'll be fun. And, you know, maybe you want to buy this book for your children, your new child to read. How old is your child?
He's 1.
1. Yeah. So he won't know that he's being screamed at about the blood of Jesus. Yeah.
Maybe high school.
Yeah.
Maybe wait a few
I have another book for the middle school. And
you got a middle school book?
It's when I go into do the poetry workshops, there's one that's a kid.
We'll be back with poet Billy Lamont.
Robert Cornicelli doesn't write for attention. In What is White, Cornicelli exposes an uncomfortable truth. Whiteness isn't an identity, it's a weapon, one used to divide us, while the system thrives on guilt and control. It's for everyday Americans ready to push past guilt, question the lies, and reclaim who they are. Proceeds support the Veteran Recovery Coalition, helping veterans rebuild their lives. What is White? Available now.
Who broke the television? Can we laugh at that? Sounds like me.
As of this week, public gay sex will now be mandatory.
Am I the only one who could see his lips move?
Cheekbones, baby.
I'm sorry, maybe I overreacted.
Corporate transfer. Fine professional, moving and storage, and inventory management.
Hey, fellow patriots, it's Cindy Gross here, host of Right for America, from your favorite place, the America First Warehouse. You've seen me show on my show so many products from this country's #1 most patriotic manufacturer with close to 400 products. You need to exchange the products you use in your house to this company and make your dollars count in our country.
All right, live from Studio 6B on a Friday night, live at the America First Warehouse. Live at the America First Warehouse on a Friday, Real America's Voice, all across the country, 103.9 LI News Radio, all across your radio, Suffolk County, Long Island. Glad you're in.
It's me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land.
The America First Warehouse, a beacon for the sea, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. The America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
are back at Suffocating in Suburbia. I hope you're feeling spooky. My buddy Bill, who works here, came down and started talking about a hanging ghost.
Ooh.
Who was that? Port Jefferson, he said? I don't believe him. He's drunk. He's one of those guys that just got out of Parsnips. Is that still there, Parsnips?
It is. It's mentioned in my book, yeah.
I know.
The owner shared a ghost story with me.
Did he?
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. I remember, because I always pass that place. It looks like I don't know what it was, small.
Yeah, well, he recently redid it a few years ago, so now it's different from what it was years ago. But he said that some of the patrons took a photo, and in the background of the photo, there's what looks like a Native American
that was in
princess.
the book. I saw that in the book. Yeah, that was cool. That's right. And the lady said the remote control was thrown at her.
Yeah, they've had some weird stuff happen there.
I've had drinks over there.
Yeah.
That's the one right on the lake.
I believe
right?
everybody that sits in a bar and drinks. I believe all those people. All right. My next guest, who's actually been here. Am I going the right way? Poet Billy Lamont. Like I said, I met him at Barnes and Noble. But you're all over the place. What are you doing?
What am I
How'd you
doing?
start? What made you get into poetry?
So I'm writing a new book right now, and writing a book, like you said, you just had a baby. It's like giving birth. There's a lot to it. And I know from when I was young, I wanted to be a journalist, and it's hard. It took a lot out of me talking with people, having empathy. Sometimes you're talking to them not at the best moments. Right. And so I get it all, as a journalist and as investigative, And so that's excellent. So the book, my current book I'm writing is a poetry book. But how did I get started? I just would naturally write as a kid. I was kind of shy, and I would write stories for my family to act out. And we had like a tape recorder, and we would, do like, say I did my version of a movie, or I would write original story. And so I don't know, I just would always write. I had a good imagination. And then in elementary school, I wrote my first poems. But then when I started like in high school and I studied poetry, like as I got into rock and roll, like as a young teenager, I might write in a facade or something, and I would write rock lyrics. Spinal Tap lyrics or whatever.
Spinal Tap.
I drink my rye, my girl will worry that I die, but I was like 14 years old, with a pimple or whatever, And but me and my friends, we loved rock and roll, and then I went into rock lyrics, and I was in a band, Walk on Water, as a young man.
Right.
And this is a little, I guess, spooky in a way. There was a Satan ritual murder in East Northport on, I believe, by the gazebo. In the 80s. So in the late 80s, when I was starting, I had a band, Walk on Water. We did a video. A friend of mine from MTV gave us a video camera for the day. Paul Andriello, a director, successful, great director, but we were young then, And I wanted to do it on the same ground as the Satan ritual murder. And I'm tapping my punky boots, and I have my mullet, and I'm like, I go through my phases, and it was like kind of like redeeming the ground that Northport. It was in Northport. It's such a beautiful town, and the people so beautiful, and that the spirit of love and God is alive, not just the spirit of death and Satan. And I figured, maybe this would be news, but usually bad news is bigger news. But like locally, they covered it, and I think the townspeople enjoyed it, and so that was the beginnings. Then it branched off from there. I had a gift with songwriting, but there was always better musicians. Like today, I'm excited to have Dominic Zeke Zacchio with me on guitar later on.
He's going to be here.
And,
now you ended up on News 12, right? I saw you on News 12 in your earlier days. How did that happen?
So I had a relationship with them from a young man. The first time I was on there was 94, when I was going to tour with Lollapalooza. And I think the next day I was going to air on MTV with Kennedy, The Most Wanted. So many moons ago, but I was on there, and they liked me. They gave me another segment. I was with Lee Terrell.
Right.
So then a few years later, when I had my first CD out, so that was when I had success with my first book, The Gallery of Light. And I was doing book signings. So I was revisiting that when you saw me at the Barnes & Noble. But my first book signing was in Lake Grove in the mall. I think it was B. Dalton or Walden Book. I think it was B. Dalton, which was affiliated with Barnes & Noble at the time. It was the same company or whatever. But it was like I would do things actually in the mall, and I felt like, at that time, I'm like, what am I, Tiffany? Or like, I mean, she's a great artist, but for me, I I thought I was more badass than that.
You go from CBGB's to the South Shore Mall. Or
and, yeah, and
kind of a step backwards.
and I would lay in the fetal position. So definitely that would seem crazy to people. But the Gallery of Light, the point of it was emotionally paralyzed. It was meant to be self-help and to be new birth, born again. Most of the rock operas like The Wall, Tommy Quadrophenia, as a rock lover, it's about someone falling apart or the downward spiral. This was meant.
Tommy is awakening. It's about an awakening, right? The Who.
And
Tommy.
there's like the text and the subtext. Yeah, so most of it is falling apart due to role models and
Right.
lovers and all that. But then, there's the other side of
Coming
awakening.
age, loss of innocence. It's the usual.
Yeah, and then like with Tommy, you're right. A different kind of awakening. Good point. Actually, my friend, the late Larry Norman, who was backing me, he was on Capitol Records with the Beatles, and many called him the father of Christian rock. He's widely known as that. He actually was opening up for the Who and Hendrix and the Doors and the Stones, and he did a rock opera, and the Who liked it, and they've credited him, publicly that was the inspiration for Tommy.
Oh, really?
So now he was much more. He had a certain awakening to him, and so that was it turned into the morphed in. It came out of my first book. Like I was on the Joe Franklin show, I might have had a 15-minute version, but it ended up becoming like a 40-minute spoken word rock opera. But then it became dubstep and music. So then when this a CD came out, my first CD in '98, Into the 21st Century, with Mike Peters of the Alarm, who is in my heart. Yeah. And Allen Ginsberg was kind enough to let me sample from Hal.
Oh, you're dropping some big names here. Allen Ginsberg, Joe Franklin.
So News 12 had me on there, and I don't mean to drop. Actually, he just dropped the remote, so I'm not sure if he can hear. So I'll keep going just in case.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Hal, he had asked. Paul McCartney had wanted a sample from Hal. It's a 13-minute poem, the legendary Beat Generation poem, and Beck, and it shows a lot about him. I could have made it more commercial, like a pop single, because Mike Peters had so many hits, 68 Guns and Rain in the Summertime, and all, like through the 80s and 90s. But I didn't. I invited them both to Lollapalooza. I jammed on stage. I improvised with Mike, experimented. But then with Ginsberg, he came, and I didn't know. But it ended up. I'll tell you the short of it. That he let me sample from it, and it was a Benefit 15 challenge, and it shows a lot about him because I wanted to do it with acoustic instead of we could have commercialized it. I sent them a handwritten letter, and everyone's like, he turned down Paul McCartney. Like Paul McCartney, I grew up a big Beatle fan.
Oh, yeah.
Beck was young. I met him. We were both young at Lollapalooza. He's such a genius. I was experimenting with blues and electronic drums because like Zeppelin and they all were like made blues with electric guitar. I was using electronic drums. But Ginsberg liked all that, and so News 12 had me on. Usually like on Long Island when I have national or international success, it's nice to be on in the Long Island media as well because it's my roots. I started in. My first poetry reading was at the Northport Library, and my first reading as a featured poet was at a homeless place on St. Mark's Place, just because I liked the whole Patti Smith and I'm like, this is cool, Jim Carroll and the whole,
Jim Carroll,
and they let me feature at a homeless thing, and then they liked it, they gave me a whole day to experiment with this Billy Poulos on guitar, and I just thought it was cool, but it's interesting because I have a whole history of working with homeless people, and now I can see the power, even more so, the power of words, and how it's a gift. It's almost like we got to be the poem, may your very soul be a great poem. Our life is a message. So words are powerful, so I try to create rather than destroy the best I can. And so that's why on some levels, my poetry is kid friendly, but then some, sometimes I dig deep, and that's not appropriate.
Yeah, well, I was just playing around with
Yeah, I know.
because the word "ripped from a soul" still bleeds.
Yeah, it's like
there's an obvious joke there. That
it's like
a kid's story. Yeah,
it's like it's Hallmark.
I was
poems.
being a hacky
It's Hallmark.
comedian. I'm sorry. I'll stop. But
no, I get it. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not be sorry. Poetry. I mean, I feel like it's coming back. There's like a bit of a. Do you feel like it's getting more popular as time goes on? Because, yeah, you think of obviously the rock poets. The Bob Dylans and Jim Morrison and, like you said, Patti Smith. But actual stand-up doing poetry, is it something that's gaining momentum? Is it getting more popular?
In the late '80s, I had to find places.
Right.
We would invent the place to play. And then I was a part of the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. I had met Bob Holman, Mark Pellington, this big director. He's the guy who did the Jeremy video. And he used to come. He came to my poetry reading. He's like, stick close to this guy. And he ended up doing U2, Zoo TV.
Right.
And he directs movies. And, I had already, a lot of the poets wanted to do the Joe Franklin show, but it was like scattered. But the whole spoken word scene really started to happen in the 90s. It had been in Chicago, came to New York. The Nuyorican had a whole history before that. There's even movies about it, like one of the poets, Panero, that's why I go to lunch sometimes. And
which the one in Ronkonkoma closed, by the way. The one of the Panera in Ronkonkoma closed. I think it has something to do with the Indian princess.
And I'm not doing product placement.
Not a fan of the Panera.
We'll blame her.
I'm not getting any kickbacks from product placement or anything.
No, nothing. You dropped a bunch of names. We're not advertising
some money. I
Panera
could,
here. No, that's great. I think poetry is awesome. Actually, it was funny because I watch America's Got Talent. I hate the show, but I did watch it every year because it's aggravating, and I think it's fixed. I think everything's fixed. But a poet won one year. Did you see that?
It's been picking up.
Yeah.
Poetry now is everywhere.
Yeah, African-American guy. He was doing poetry, and he won. It was like, that's weird. But
Must have been really good.
It was interesting. More like rap. I mean, I don't know what he was doing, but I think that there's definitely a resurgence of that going on, and I think it's fantastic because it's an art form that people need to appreciate more. I love it.
Me too. On any given day, since the poetry movement, and then I toured with Lollapalooza with the poetry tent, and it became more and more like a comeback. When I was younger, there might have been Morrissey or Bono as a poet, but then. The 1960s people were still around, but it was like scattered. There were punk people, industrial, rap. But now it's a part of culture. On any given day, there could be 5 events just on Long Island, and another, in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And it's a big, big part of culture, and it's wild for me to see because sometimes I'm like, I kind of liked when I was the only one, But there was actually the college professors and all this, but there's this whole other thing where it's a part of the culture. And it's wonderful to see because people need a voice. And then sometimes just to be heard, it's almost like counseling for people. But some people find their whole life's thing in bands and poetry. And so for me to see this, it's like, wow, it's come a long way. And it won America's Got Talent.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay. All right. They're signaling something to me. What's going on?
Judges, broken families, families torn apart. This is injustice. If you've been wronged by the system, join us. Don't stand alone. Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs, president of Americans for Legal Reform. We're the oldest legal reform group in the United States. The justice system in the United States should be transparent, fair, and open to everybody and accessible. Unfortunately, many times that's not the case. At Americans for Legal Reform, we are here to help. Join the movement. Visit AmericansForLegalReform.com and help reform the system before it fails you.
Hi, my name is Elena Ruseva, aka Megalangelo. Please check my art at www.megalangelo.vip.
Are you a musician, comedian, actor, filmmaker, or artist who stands for traditional American values? Do you believe in the preservation of our nation, our culture, and our freedoms? If you share our passion for America and want to use your talents to make a difference, we want to hear from you. Our mission is clear. Through the arts, we uphold the principles of freedom, faith, family, and the American spirit. It's time to step up to the mic and make your voices heard. So contact us at AmericanConservativeArtists.com. The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org.
It's Tuesday here at the America First Warehouse. I am Joe the Box. And I'm John the Blanket.
Freddie Rubino here with my podcast. That's what I'm talking about. Coming to you live from the most patriotic venue in the land.
Welcome to Right for America.
I'm James Justice. We got Stephen Ruth over here. What are we doing, Steve? Fighting!
Welcome to Tune In Tuesday of the Patriots Podcast, live streaming every Tuesday night at 7:30.
Another edition of On the Right Side here, and you can catch us weekly, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
And welcome to Liberty's Cage, where we rip the veil off America's broken justice system. Prisons that crush spirits and a society that shuns people who have paid their price.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kevin Downey Jr. Podcast. Be free, stay free.
Welcome to Suffocating in Suburbia with me, your host, Stevie GB.
8 minutes.
I'm back. Hey, you know what? Before we go to poet Billy Lamont's poem, Talking Back to the Raven, I want to show a little video my friend did, Chris Roach, who's a comedian, and it's about, since we're talking about Ronkonkoma, let's do this. It's a lot of fun.
Forget that. You know where I really want to go? Where? Off the Long Island Sound. There's a place called Ronkonkoma. That's where you want to go to get away from it all. A once polluted lake. An urban myth to make your bones shake. If you wanna find me, I'll be riding the Long Island Railroad down to Ronkonkoma, Penn Station, Jamaica. Ooh, I wanna take you Mineola, then Hicksville. Come on, baby, sit still. Farmingdale, then Deer Park. Ooh, you know we're almost at Ronkonkoma. We'll take the train, 'cause the expressway's slow. That's where we wanna go. I think I had too much to drink. I really have to pee. Just drank my 9th Long Island iced tea. If I have
Roach, what a great, funny guy. Go see him. He opens for Kevin James. He's a terrific comedian. I've known him for a long time. All right, without further ado, we bring to you poet Billy Lamont with accompaniment by Dom Z. Thank you very much.
The Raven 2, talking back to the Raven. A dark, mysterious winter night was my first in an old Victorian house. A gasp, and then I moaned as I approached the house and noticed blood dripping from above the doorpost of my new home. I took a deep breath, put a new key in, swung open the front door, was startled when a black bird flew towards me, up from the floor. I thought I had chased you, but later that night, the raven came tap, tap, tapping on my chamber door. A demon impersonating a lost love? Leonore? With a strong mind filled with positive affirmation, by the grace of God, I ignore the raven's dark words filled with lies, guilt, and condemnation. But with soulful vision, I can see beyond the fireplace shadows on the floor. Months later at the village docks, as I was out of work, hungry, lonely, meditating on the waves of the shore, the raven had the audacity to fly up to my car. Its hovering black eyes looked into mine through the windshield glass and sought to shake me to the core. The raven said, "Never more." The raven tried to frighten me and stare me down with his dark eyes, tried to make me fearful, hopeless, and guilty, tormented with some kind of distorted memory. But the raven saw the glory of God in my eyes and had to flutter away back to his father of all lies. The raven came to steal and destroy with lies of love nevermore. In my spirit, I can softly hear the words, "It is finished. Everything is new. Love is forevermore." By the blood of Jesus, I cast away the demon. To those in Jesus the Christ, no condemnation, talking back to the raven. Grace is an open door. What has been stolen, love will always restore. A scared raven scurries and flies away in disarray. You too can talk back to the raven. Everyone is now in the know. Even the great poet Edgar Allan Poe. You too could talk back to the raven. The raven, one of the few creatures the devil is taught to deceive. But the truth of who God is tells the truth of who I am when I believe in all that I receive as a child of God. Grace is an open door. What has been stolen, God will always restore. A scared raven scurries and flies away in disarray. You too can talk back to the raven. And in the garden, a serpent gave Adam an unholy hiss in the garden to deceive Judas like to kiss. The raven, one of the few creatures the devil is taught to deceive. Through the raven, Satan attempts to block my vision, to sow division, guilt, and condemnation, to add drama to trauma, to torment my mind, to steal before I can heal. Black eyes, black wings, black feathers with a beak. In the silence of the night, I hear the wood floor creak. The raven has no power, only fear of the mystique, if I allow it. Black ink. The 7 places Jesus shed his crimson blood blots out the black ink, helps us to forgive ourselves, helps us to forgive others, to let it go, to be free to live and think. Crimson red ink, now grafted into God's holy vine, into God's holy bloodline. Satan comes to steal, kill, and destroy. No righteousness in him. You are a deceiver, the father of all lies. Condemnation when the heartache of lost loves arise. When you try to sell me, your soul is compromised, as the wagging tongue of a liar likes to criticize, talking back to the raven. The raven comes to steal with lies of love nevermore. Jesus said, "It is finished." And in his name, I'm wearing the crown of fame, talking back to the raven. By the blood of Jesus, I cast away the demon. To those in Jesus the Christ, no paranoia, no condemnation, talking back to the raven. Passover blood dripping upon my front door and its mystery. The raven looks into my eyes filled with God's glory and needs to hurry to scurry and fly away. Everyone is now in the know. Even the great poet Edgar Allan Poe. You too can talk back to the raven. And grace is an open door. What has been stolen, God will always restore. A scared raven scurries and flies away in disarray. You too can talk back to the raven. And Satan's time on this earth is short. Lord Jesus is coming again. Grace is an open door. Hear the lion roar! Hear the lion roar! Talking back to the raven. A dove. On a cold and windy winter night, a dove appears in the warm glow of the new fireplace, of the new fire in my fireplace. Fills me, fills my home with love, with peace. And as sitting and enjoying strong coffee in my favorite purple velvet chair alone, I just wanted to commemorate this alive moment and share it with you. In the writing of this poem, I somehow found salvation when I started talking back to the raven. A raven, Halloween, a dove, All Saints Day. The choice is yours. A dove, one, love. Love, life, and peace to you. I'm Poet Billy Lamont. This is Dominic C. Jack here. Thank you.
Very nice. That was terrific. Very good. Do we have time for that second asset, that little video? All right, we're going to do one last thing. Don Sill is a good friend. Thank you very much, Poet Billy Lamont. Michael Ebert, thanks for coming down tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Suffocating in Suburbia.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Great stuff. Good. Oh.
America's turning 250, and it's time to rock out with our American-made, battle-ready style for true patriots. Whether you're marching in the parade, grilling in the backyard, or raising a toast to liberty, do it in the gear that screams freedom. Celebrate 250 years of USA in style. Wear your American pride loud. Trendjackers.etsy.com. Grab yours before the fireworks.
Today, special spooky, suffocating in Halloween in Suburbia, wherever the hell we are. Once again, Michael Ebert, Poet Billy Lamont. Buy their books, Lake of Legends, Words Ripped from a Soul Still Bleeding. Read it to your kids. I'll see you next month. Next month, I got Paul Bond coming down, day before Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure to watch all the shows here on America's First Warehouse, Kevin Downey Jr., The Patriots, all of them. They're all great. Watch all the podcasts. They're just terrific.